So now that we have our spreadsheet ready to go and use the data that we put into it, we need to find a way to put the information into the spreadsheet automatically. There's no way I'm going to call it efficient if I have to go manually copy and paste the information into this full-powered spreadsheet. So to get started, we're going to go back into Visual Basic. So you go to your Developer tab and hit Visual Basic. That brings you back up to the 3 macros that we have that are operated using the 3 buttons on the chart. You'll notice here that in this left drop-down box, it says General and it doesn't say anything else. That's not what we're looking for. We'll go to over on the side on the project here, double-click this workbook. You'll get a new blank space to work with, and it still says General. Check that drop-down box again, and we've got Workbook. Workbook is the place where you can access the predefined events in Excel. And so what we've got here is private sub Workbook.Open currently. That's the one that we want. If that doesn't come up automatically for you, over here on the right-hand side are all the predefined events. What you're actually looking for in this case is open, but take a look at those and see if any apply to you, and if you can actually latch on to any of those, that might help you. I also have all of my code pasted and ready to go. That won't happen very often, almost never. So what I'd like you to do is actually follow me through what's happening in this code. All of this code is down in the description, ready for you to copy and paste. But in order to truly understand what's going on here, I think we need to walk through it together. So here I've got dim XL workbook as workbook. That's going to be us opening the entry sheet, and so that is currently empty. I'll show you where we assign that later. Dim curr as string, so that's going to be the name of the active workbook, and as a matter of fact, the very next line we have curr being assigned the active workbook name. These two variables help us to easily manage which workbook we are working in currently with the current line of code. Here we have Application.ScreenUpdating equals false. What that does is it just disables screen updating for the life of this macro, and what that does is it prevents the screen from flickering, which is actually pretty irritating, but also if you have a larger macro, it can speed up the process pretty significantly. So to get started in the real meat here, we're going to start preparing our workbook for the new entries. So what that means is we're deleting all the old information. So here we have sheet 1 select. What that's doing is no matter where the user saves in this workbook, wherever they are when they save, we're going to go to the right sheet. And then the next line, we're going to take that sheet and we're going to dynamically find the range. So we have this cell A1 and we have this cell which is the UsedRange.Rows.Count, which is however many rows have been touched, and then we have the UsedRange.Columns.Count, which is however many columns have been touched. So dynamically it's going to find all of them, and you'll see at the very end here it says clear. We're not actually deleting the cells. That can get kind of nasty, but when you clear it, you're not going to have an issue. Now here we have set XL workbook, so this is where we're actually defining that second workbook and what it is. We're going to have Workbooks.Open, and you have to set this to your file path. So this is going to be specific to every user and based on step number 6, where your OneDrive is. So here for me, my OneDrive is right here. So I've got this file path. I'll just go ahead and copy that in the File Explorer, and then I'll paste that. But you still can't quite use it just like that. Remember to add a slash and then type in the name of your sheet. So entry.xlsx. Always remember to put your sheet in there. If not, it's not going to know which file to look at. So we have both our directory as well as our file to look for. So you'll notice this comment here as well, tutorial step 7. You're already here. Good. So after that, after we open that workbook, we need to work with it. So we're actually going to do the same thing. We're going to go to sheet 1, go to the proper sheet, And then we're going to grab everything. It's the same dynamic call. We're going to still use all the use range rows, use range columns, but instead of clearing this time, we're going to copy the information. And now we're done with that book. We need to keep it open so that the copy and paste will go well. But we go back to our current workbook. So application workbook's current activate. We're going to go back to the original workbook, the one that has the full power. Application workbook's current, we're still working with that, and we're making sure that we're working with that. We're going to go to the correct sheet. No matter what happened in the time that we left it, we're going to go back to the right sheet. And we're going to take range cells 1, 1, 1 to cells 1, 1, and we're going to paste special. We don't know how big this range is going to be. It's not easy to declare, but we don't have to. Cells A1 to A1, and it's just going to expand the range as needed with the paste special. So now we have all the new information in the book, and that's great, that's fine, but the chart does not automatically update its data source. So if you only have, like currently we have one record, it's only seeing one record still, no matter whether you have one record or 9 records. So what we need to do is we need to update the data source. So we go to the charts, chart 1, and we activate that chart, because the next call we're calling the active chart. So we need to activate it first. So now we activate that chart and then set the source data to sheet 1, range A1 to B, however many rows are being used. Doesn't matter how many, as long as they've been touched, this is going to count them. And now we're going to bring everything back to normal. It's always good practice to close, and this false is indicating that we're not planning on saving that workbook. All we're doing is we're getting the information out of it, copying and pasting. We don't want to tie up that book. We don't want to save it. We don't want to modify it. We just want to get the information that's in there out of it. And then we're going to set the xlWorkbook to nothing. And finally, we're going to turn the screen updating back on in Excel. It's going to come back on automatically, but believe me, it's always better to explicitly define what you want the application to do rather than leaving it to chance. So now on to testing.